All right, shalom. So today we are going to be reading the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave. So, the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave is a study of slave making. It describes the rationale and the results of Anglo-Saxon's ideas and methods of ensuring the master/slave relationship. The infamous Willie Lynch letter gives both African and Caucasian students and teachers some insight concerning the brutal and inhumane psychology behind the African slave trade. Basically, Israelites is what they're trying to say. All blacks, Hispanics, natives, Indians. So, Willie Lynch, the untold story, 1712. This speech was delivered by a white slave owner, William Lynch, on the bank of the James River in 1712. And the message is still true today by William Lynch. Gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of our Lord 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control of our slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us if my program is implemented. As our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish, I saw enough to know your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple miles back. You are not only losing valuable stocks by hangings, you are having uprisings, slaves are running away, your crops are sometimes left in the fields too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires, your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what problems are? I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. However, I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method for controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if it is installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is age, but is there only because it starts with A. The second is color or shade. There is intelligence, size, sex, size, plantation, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generation for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks, but it is necessary your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are the keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. This speech was delivered by a white slave owner, Willie Lynch, on the banks of the James River in 1712. Now we'll move on to the next part in the letter book. Let's make a slave. It was in the interest and business of slave holders to study human nature, and the slave nature in particular, with a view to practical results, and many of them attained astonishing proficiently in this direction. They had to deal not with earth, wood, and stone, but with men, and they, by every regard they had known for their safety and prosperity, they had need to know the material on which they were to work. Conscious of the injustice and wrong, they were every hour perpetuating and knowing what they themselves would do were they were victims of such wrongs. They were constantly looking for the first signs of dread retribution. They watched, therefore, with skilled and practiced eyes, and learned to read with great accuracy the state of mind and heart of the slave through this sable face, unusual sobriety, apparent abstractions, sulliness, and indifference. Indeed, any mood out of the common way afforded ground for suspicion and inquiry. That was by Frederick Douglass. Let's Make a Slave is a study of the scientific process of man breaking and slave making. It describes the rationale and results of the Anglo-Saxons' ideas and methods of ensuring the master/slave relationship. I will read some more of Let's Make a Slave in our next video. Shalom.